Hey guys, it's Maggie, your patient nurse friend, talking about difficult topics with just a little pinch of humor. So today we are going to be talking about the top 10 questions, the most commonly asked questions that I get about living with an ostomy. By the way, I hope you are all okay with my microphone being literally right up in my face here. If I don't do that, then basically the whole room echoes and that's all you hear. And it still may echo a little bit. Anyway, so a while ago I had posted a video showing my most updated ostomy bag change, and for whatever reason YouTube took off with it. It almost has, I think, 5 million views now, which is kind of absurd, but super cool. I love it. This video though reached so many people, and obviously it reached a ton of people that have never even seen an ostomy. A lot of them didn't even think it was real. Because of this, I got so many questions about how it functions, what it feels like, things of that nature. So I went through that video's comments as well as a lot of my other videos comments and compiled the top 10 questions that I get about living with an ostomy. So if you are a patient that might be facing the surgery, or you are just super curious about the girl who's got intestine falling out of her, then I suggest you keep watching. We're gonna talk about some pretty crazy stuff. Okay, so let's start off with the first question, and that one is, does it hurt / do I have feeling in my stoma? In my case, my ostomy is my small intestine. It was surgically brought through my abdomen and then sewn into place, in which I wear an adhesive bag basically covering it, and that's how I go to the bathroom. And when people see my stoma, they see how red it is, which is 100% completely normal, and that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see the intestine as like a bright, beefy red is what they call it. That means that the intestine has good blood flow. But even though it looks super inflamed, a lot of people have said, wow, that looks like crazy inflamed. There is no feeling. There are actually no nerve endings in the intestine, so you can't feel the stoma itself. But some people will say, oh my gosh, I totally feel my stoma, and what they're feeling sometimes can be the output pushing through their stoma and kind of stretching the skin on either side. And because of what comes out of the stoma, sometimes that sits on the skin or it gets onto the skin and can burn it. So the skin around it can be very sensitive. It can get raw, it can get damaged. But as for the actual intestine itself, nope, you could touch it and I would have no idea. The next two questions are kind of related to each other, and I think it gets a little bit confusing when people see my big ostomy change video. I get the question, well, I get these two questions actually, about how often I have to empty the bag. And then for the third question, how often do I change the bag? So when we talk about emptying and changing, those are two different things in the ostomy world. Changing your bag means completely taking that appliance off, cleaning the skin really well, and getting a fresh start with a new appliance, bag, pouch, whatever you want to call it. Emptying the bag means you're opening either a Velcro enclosure at the bottom of it, or sometimes they have a clip, or sometimes they have a nozzle at the very end of that bag, and you're just emptying the contents out of the bag into the toilet. So that's emptying the bag. So I typically empty the bag anywhere from 5 to 8 times a day. It just depends on what I ate that day, how I'm feeling. And then when I go to change the bag, that typically happens every 3 to 4 days. So when I show my how to change my ostomy bag videos, I'm not doing that every couple hours. I'm only doing that every 3 to 4 days. For the fourth question, can I bathe or can I shower? Can I get the bag wet? And the answer is yes. There are some types of bags that absorb water a little bit more than other types, so it can sometimes loosen the flange or the wafer. That's the part that's basically sticking to your skin. It can absorb water and then become not as sticky. But for the most part, I have no issue jumping in the shower, jumping in the pool, jumping in the ocean. I can do all of those things and the bag will stay on me. I don't do anything special. I don't add any covers, but there are covers out there for patients who might feel self-conscious showing their bag out, or maybe they just want the extra security. I also get this question a ton. So I get asked, can I shower without a bag? Can your stoma get wet? Well, when you think about what the stoma is and what it does and what it comes into contact with, it comes into contact with your output all the time. So it has no issue getting wet. What I always say though is you don't want to have a boiling hot shower hitting your stoma directly. Like, I love to take hot showers. I do not turn and have that hot water directly on my stoma just in case, but it is totally fine for your stoma to get wet. I do this almost all the time. Anytime that I have to change my bag, I kind of plan ahead and I will remove the bag and then jump in the shower, let it do whatever it's gonna do because you're in the shower anyway. Get out, dry the skin, and put on a new appliance. Question number 6, I get a lot. And I've been getting it a lot recently because I have uploaded a couple videos about my monthly cycle and my experience with intimacy with an ostomy, and that is, can I have children? I am planning on talking about this a lot more in depth because I know people are curious, but the honest answer is I don't know because I haven't tried. What I do know is that I have seen many friends who have had ostomies, who have had proctocolectomies, who've had everything that I've had and everything that I've experienced go on to have successful pregnancies, and not only that, deliver vaginally. So it is possible. That being said, me personally, you know, everyone's different, so I just don't know, and I won't know until we try. So question number 7, does this restrict me in any physical way, like with physical activity? And my short answer is no. I have done pretty much everything that I ever wanted to do, and everything that I did prior to ostomy surgery after I had ostomy surgery. In fact, I did a heck of a lot better with it. Everything I put my mind to, I felt so much better that things just were better after surgery. Like, I played soccer all of my life, not like well, not in like a serious league, but I did play soccer, and I was so sick before ostomy surgery that after I had ostomy surgery and healed, I was such a better player. I was always really timid on the field because I was tinier. I felt like I was gonna break. And then after ostomy surgery, when I put on some weight, you couldn't mess with me. What I will say is you want to avoid trauma to your actual stoma. I have experienced trauma to my actual stoma. Quick side story here. When I was working in the hospital as a nurse, I was on a pediatric unit and I had an autistic patient who was having a rough time. And this patient basically started attacking anything around themselves, and since I was the nurse of that patient, that included me, and I was kicked directly in the stoma, and I will not forget that because I went down. I'm really fortunate though that I had other nurses that were assisting me because, you know, you can't deal with those situations by yourself, you need help, so they were able to take over for me while I was recovering on the ground. The only thing that happened was my stoma bled a little bit, which kind of happens a lot anyway. Stomas are, you know, very perfused and they bleed if you touch them, but I wound up being totally fine. Number 8, I get this question a lot too. People ask me, do I have gas and where does it go, since I don't go to the bathroom normally, and it goes into my bag just like everything else does. Whatever you can do out your behind, I can do out of my bag. So that's the easiest answer there. Number 9, I get this question too quite a bit, is do I have any control over my output? Like, do I get to decide when it comes out? And unfortunately, with an ileostomy, I do not. It comes as it pleases whenever the heck it wants, which can be really convenient sometimes and can be really, really inconvenient sometimes. There are different surgeries that you can have, like the BCIR is considered a continent pouch because basically you catheterize your stoma and then that lets the output out. And then people with colostomies, depending on how much of their colon they still have left, they don't necessarily have control, but they have output less frequently throughout the day. With ileostomies though, the output is almost always liquid, so it's basically always just going. And the last question that I have was, how do you work as a nurse? How can you possibly work as a nurse with an ostomy? And that one's a tough one. Some of you know that I did have to leave my hospital job because I wound up flaring and having to get some more surgery. And I would say that I am close to being where I was physically before surgery, but not quite. I'm still trying to build up strength. And I know it's been a year, but this stuff takes time, seriously. I did have about 3.5 to 4 years of really good floor nursing where I was able to do it no problem. And I was very fortunate that a lot of my floor dealt with the same disease population that I am, and some of our nurses also had Crohn's disease. None of them had ostomies. I was the only one with an ostomy. There were like 4 or 5 of us with Crohn's, so people knew that I had it. I was very honest about it. But as time went on and my colon and my rectum declined, I started to lose strength. And what really did it in, I remember this one point where I was taking care of a little baby. Not a little baby, but like, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 months old. And I was struggling to lift them out of the crib. And I was like, this isn't okay. I think I was trying to lift them to weigh them, like move them to a scale, and I was just struggling. And I was like, I have to ask the parent to help me lift this baby. And I was like, okay, I really need to rethink what I'm doing work-wise. So I wound up leaving that job and switching to telehealth nursing, and now I'm doing some other nursing work. And that's the really fortunate thing about nursing, is it's so diverse that you don't just have to do hospital nursing or office nursing. There are so many other things you can do. There are online avenues, so your license won't go to waste. Yeah, so those are my top 10 questions. If you have any other questions about ostomies, or if you have questions about proctocolectomies or kidney surgery, I don't know, whatever other things I've experienced that you're just curious about, please let me know in the comments below. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next. Bye.